Right now, pleased to be joined by one of the great broadcasters right now going today. You see him on the NFL Network, Fox Sports, and absolutely positively loves Big Orange Country and his Tennessee Volunteers. A former Vol, friend of the show, Charles Davis joins us here on the new Sentinel Sports page. Charles, Vince, and Brendan Quinn. How are you, Charles?
I'm doing well. Good to hear your guys' voices. Hope everything's great in Big Orange Country. And fortunate enough last night to have dinner with a couple of great representatives of the University of Tennessee, and that was a whole lot of fun. Brian Hardy was in town, and Steve Catlett. Steve's an associate vice chancellor, and Brian works in the development office. And anytime I can touch Big Orange Country, touch Tennessee, I feel a whole lot better.
Well, Tennessee is Big Orange Country is a lot better when you do. And, Charles, I got a chance to I love this stuff. Brendan and I were talking about it last week. I absolutely love and absorb all of those Senior Bowl practices. So I got a big chance to see you throughout the week. I want to get to that in a little bit because I want to get to the Super Bowl first because we want to make sure we give this its proper due and get your perspective on it. What are the things? What's the one thing that you've heard people analyze and break down? What are people missing about this game that you think is important outside of the main storylines that the regular people talk about?
I think it's going to be hard to miss anything because with a 2-week build-up, and really, let's be honest about it, this build-up really started last year. And I know that's a strange expression considering that, hold a second, these teams just got here this year. But remember, the Harbaugh brothers were in the conference finals last year. We could have had this game. We could have had this game 1 season ago, just didn't get it. So you remember all those storylines had already begun. Now they've just been enhanced. By the end of this week, expect to see somebody with a feature of the barber of Jim and John Harbaugh, when they were 4 years old in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. You know what I mean? It's just it takes a life of its own, and everyone's got to go deeper and deeper and deeper to come up with some fresh and new material, and that's what we're going to have. And Jim and John Harbaugh, I think, are just so ready to be done with that part and just go on and play the game because to them it's kind of like, how much more can we say about this whole deal? What are we missing about the game? I'm not sure there's much, but here's the one that keeps creeping into my mind. David Akers, the kicker for San Francisco. Yep. Fortunate enough to work the last regular season game for the 49ers. He had a tough year by kickers' numbers, because the kickers, I don't think the kicking's ever been more accurate, guys. I mean, when we see Blair Walsh, who struggled his senior year at Georgia, remember? Mm-hmm. Come out and go, 8 for 8, 10 for 10, whatever that number was, from 50 yards and beyond as a rookie. Greg Zuerlein becomes Greg the Leg out of Missouri Western because Nebraska-Omaha had dropped football and they had to transfer. I mean, we're seeing accuracy I don't think we've ever seen before in terms of kickers. And last year, David Akers was, 44 for 52, Pro Bowl year, All-Pro, hit big shots from over 50 yards. This year, not quite as accurate. The 49ers never won more than 2 games in a row during the season. Doesn't seem possible, does it, for a team that talented? Yet that's what happened. The last game of the year, struggled again kicking the football, booed by the home fans. And my big mouth on TV that day said, after I believe his second miss of the day, I said, you know something? Would not shock me at all if Jim Harbaugh brought in someone for some competition during this open week because they were clinching, and if they got help, they would have a chance to have rest before the first playoff game. And I said, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they brought someone in now. Doesn't seem natural, but Jim Harbaugh is not about to let his team lose because he's worried about his field goal kicker. He's going to make Akers earn it, in my opinion. Sure enough, that's exactly what they did. Yeah. They brought in Ryan Cundiff, who, remember him? Remember last time you saw him? Missed the field goal for the Baltimore Ravens that would have put him in the Super Bowl last year, the 32-yarder against the New England Patriots. Came in, not Ryan, Billy Cundiff. Yeah. They kicked it. They had a kickoff. They did all these things. He decided to stay with Akers for the first playoff game. They got through that one. Yet here we are in the Super Bowl, and I'm not sure that everyone feels great about David Akers now. What if this game comes down to a big kick? Does it change strategy for Jim Harbaugh? Does he look at Akers and nod and say, go get it? Or does he look at Akers and say, let's try to pick up another first down before we let you kick it? That'll be interesting to see how he wants to call the game and see where his confidence falls on the kicker in such an important battle.
And Charles, the obviously the overriding storyline is the Harbaugh brothers. The thing that I found interesting that
you have that more than Ray.
With
yeah. I'm it's okay with me, but boy, you better be careful. All the Ray people will come get you now.
fair enough, duly noted. But
and I'm just teasing.
The thing that I don't know if I just don't watch it enough, but the question that I don't see that often, who's the better coach? If you're an owner and you're hiring one, who do you take?
I think it depends on what your personality is as an owner, because it's two different personalities as brothers. Depends on what your threshold is in terms of brashness, a little more in your face, flat-out aggressiveness. That's Jim. John is just as competitive, but John's a lot smoother than Jim in terms of interpersonal relationships, in my humble opinion. Having worked with both of them, dealt with both of them, that's what I see. Doesn't make one right and one wrong by any stretch of the imagination. Here's the deal. You're arriving at the same result. Jim Harbaugh, 2 years in the NFL, NFC Championship game last year, and the Super Bowl this year. John Harbaugh, what is this, the end of his fifth year, sixth year? Has never missed the playoffs. Okay? Now, in this league, you can't say that without actually going, wow, that's impressive. You know why? Mike Tomlin's won a Super Bowl with the Steelers, correct?
Yep.
He's missed 2 playoffs since he's been a head coach. Tom Coughlin's won 2 Super Bowls. If I'm not mistaken, has missed the playoffs at least twice with the New York Giants. We're talking about big-time coaches here, right? Bill Belichick missed the playoffs a few years ago when Brady got hurt, but they went 11-5, and in one of those fluke years didn't make the playoffs. So it happens, all right, to the best of them. The only reason I point that out is I'm talking about some of the best coaches in the league have missed the playoffs in the NFL. John Harbaugh has never missed the playoffs. He's been to 3 AFC championship games, now in his first Super Bowl. It depends on what you're feeling in terms of your relationship with your head coach as an owner, because I'm not sure you can say one is better than the other. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Visiting with former Vol Charles Davis, the analyst for the NFL Network and Fox Sports here on the new Sentinel Sports page. Vince Ferrara, Brendan Quinn. Does Baltimore have the ability to stop or at least slow down the pistol offense, the zone read of Colin Kaepernick that's given everyone else so much trouble in the playoffs?
They do. It'll take a nice effort up front. Haloti Ngata is going to have a big game, and he's more than capable of doing that. The D tackle, D end for the Ravens. Suggs, an outside linebacker, will have to have all of his speed and quickness in order to combat that. But I think that for the most part, this game's going to come down to more than Colin Kaepernick's legs and ability to run the ball. I think he's going to have to win the game throwing the football more so than running it. I think the threat of the run will help, and that'll be huge for them. But all in all, in most NFL games, most, not all, because it could still happen because he has that capability, most come down to how the quarterback operates in the pocket. And Colin Kaepernick has the ability to do both, which is one of the great things. Here's the oddity. We're so hipped on, and you guys stop me where you think I'm wrong, we're so caught up now in that mobile quarterback that we're loving it, that we're seeing the guys make the plays and seeing the guys do stuff. We see Kaepernick shred the Packers. Russell Wilson makes plays with his legs outside the pocket. Right on down the line. Andrew Luck is underrated that way. RG3. This mobile quarterback is kind of taking over the game. Everybody's looking for that guy. Go back to the Final Four this year. NFC Championship game, AFC Championship game. Flacco, Ryan, Brady, Kaepernick. Only one of them is really capable of making plays with his legs. At the end of the day in the NFL, you ring the bell flinging it. Yes, running it's a good thing. It's an enhancement. It's an adjunct. It's actually become what they call the poor man's check down. The check down pass where you're looking downfield and you just check it to your running back. The poor man's check down is a quarterback's ability to use his legs to sting a defense, pick up key first downs, pick up yardage. But all in all, when you really want to ring the bell for the most part, you still got to throw it downfield. You still got to fling it. 3 out of the 4 quarterbacks at the end of the day were your traditional style quarterbacks. I don't think that is going to be how it continues into the future, not totally. But at the end of the day, remember this, guys. What slows down quickest on a quarterback? His legs, not his arm. So your ability to make plays in the pocket is what sustains you for a long, long career, not a shorter career. So endeth my sermon of the day on quarterback.
so now, Charles, when you see the Ravens on tape and games that they've played against mobile guys that move left or right, how do you see, I guess in terms of the X's and O's side of it, how do you see them trying to contain him? Or do they isolate a guy on him solely? How do you see them just trying to keep him in front of them is probably the goal here, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the big one. You'd much rather say, okay, I want to see you make the play from the pocket. So did you see how if you watch the Seattle-Atlanta game, did you notice the rush lanes of the Falcons?
Yeah.
Did you see how they got a little bit wider to make sure that Russell Wilson was not bouncing outside and really making it, shredding them that way? They almost conceded him having extra time to throw it, but they were so much more afraid of his legs getting downfield and making easier plays. They wanted to see him prove it from the pocket. They wanted to see that 5, 10, and 3/8 find throwing lanes and do it. They wanted to see him pull a Drew Brees because Drew Brees is barely 6 feet tall. But do you ever think about Drew Brees really making plays outside of the pocket, or do you think about Drew Brees' footwork in the pocket, finding the throwing lane, and then throwing a laser shot downfield? That's what you think of.
Yep.
So that's what they wanted. In this case, it's different because Kaepernick can see over people. So while you're sitting there saying, I've got to rush him and not let him outside, don't forget that zone read, he also can run it inside a little bit too. Plus he can stand there and fire. He can stand and deliver and see downfield. So to me, if I'm the Ravens, I come at him normally. And I also don't do a whole lot of that spy technique because here's the deal. 9 times out of 10, when I spy a defender on a quarterback, I have too much space between me and him as a general rule. And what ends up happening, I've taken someone out of coverage, which hurts me in pass defense. I'm saying that my guy is the same athlete as that quarterback, which usually isn't the case. And now if he does take off and run, he beats me one-on-one, and he still gets to the secondary more times than not.
Yep.
To me, the spy has to be the equal or better of the athlete he's spying, and in most cases that's simply not true. That's why I'm not a big proponent of it. And I've seen it too many times where they've gone to the spy, and it sure looks good on the chalkboard. Excuse me. Now let me catch up to the 21st century. On the grease board. Okay? And that X and O looks really good because I've, checkmated you on the grease board. But then I get on the field, and the X runs 4-5, and the O is running 5 flat. I lose. That's a difference. So we'll see. You can do it as a change-up, make him, take a look at your coverages. I'm not saying never do it. But I'd be very judicious about doing it because you get a steady diet and he reads it. You get man coverage with a spy. He beats the spy, and everyone's running with their back to the quarterback. And, he's running downfield, and that guy's running with a receiver and saying, boy, the ground's really shaking, really pounding. Oh, that's right. That's the guy with the ball behind me. I haven't even made a play on him yet. So it's a tough one.
Last thing on the Super Bowl, Charles, before we get to your thoughts on some of the Tennessee guys at the Senior Bowl. Who do you like in the Super Bowl? And then also give me a off-the-radar, non-superstar MVP candidate.
Ooh, well, that's good. Well, you shouldn't ask me who I like because in the divisional round with 4 games played, I went 1-3 in my picks. In the championship games, I went 0 for 2. So if you're a Baltimore Ravens fan, you're really happy now because I'm picking the 49ers by 3.
Okay.
How's that? Now, for an off-the-radar Super Bowl MVP pick, since I'm picking the 49ers, off the radar, oof, that's a tough one. See, because the guys that I would pick, I'm not sure how off the radar they would be. I'll tell you, I'll put it to you this way. Off the radar, let's go Deshaun Goldson, safety, 49ers. Why? His ability to blitz, his ability to cover. He's a ball hawk. Ball pops free. He could jump on a couple of them. I'm not saying he's going to pull a Larry Brown, okay, because Deshaun Goldson is so much better player and actually has skins on the wall that will endure beyond this. But most of the time you think offense. I think it'll be more of a defensive game. And if the 49ers are up to their swashbuckling ways, Goldson could really figure into this thing. So that'll be my off-the-radar guy.
Excellent. Charles, let's hit on this.
Be him, he and Dante Whitner working in tandem at the safety position doing the Batman-Robin thing.
Yeah.
They're the guys that will make you check your feelings after contact.
These are two nasty teams for sure. Charles, let's hit on the Tennessee guys and then a one-time Tennessee guy. I know Dallas Thomas left early in the week. Did you get much of a look at him? And then hit on what you saw during the week from Michael Rivera and then one-time Vol Montori Hughes.
Yeah, I didn't see anything of Dallas Thomas because I think he did the height, weight measurement stuff and then was gone. Yeah. I'm not sure, was there an injury? I mean, I can't remember if they tell it's injury because every day the rosters change.
Right.
All I know is I looked up and I said, hey, he's not out there. And then somebody said, yeah, I think it was an injury. And then, frankly, I never pursued it from there.
I think it was shoulder.
I'm not going to lie.
I think it was shoulder. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so there's an injury, so he'll work through that. We'll see him at the combine. Yeah. He has plenty of tape. It would have been nice for him to be able to go through it, but you don't want to go through something if you're injured. Michael Rivera had a chance to meet him for the first time, like the young man, very personable. I think he did a very nice job all week long going through drills. He's a little light in the backside, so blocking people is going to be a real challenge for him. But the way today's NFL goes, he's a move guy, and that's okay because they often pair a move guy with more of a blocking tight end. I thought he did a good job all week long, not just in drills, but in practice sessions, finding ways to get open. He looks like he has a pretty decent understanding of running routes and how to uncover downfield. Won't blow you away physically. Doesn't blind you with speed or anything, but he looked like he had a nice set of hands on him and a good attitude. So he's got an opportunity. And then Montori Hughes never shut up whole week, just yap. But made some plays along the way. Made some plays. Intriguing kind of guy. One GM told me I got to get to know him a little bit better to know everything that's coming out of his mouth because is it a positive influence, negative influence? It's funny because there's another player that I won't name that another GM said the exact same thing about and got down on the field to spend more time and was chasing this guy around so he could hear everything he was saying to see what he was saying and see what kind of effect it was really having. Was it the type that was self-promoting? Was it the type that would put down teammates? Or was it encouragement? You know who went through this a few years ago? Was Sean Weatherspoon, the linebacker for the Falcons. I mean, Sean, I'll put it to you this way. When you woke up in the morning, you heard Sean. When you went to bed at night, you heard Sean. If you sat up in the middle of the night, you heard Sean. Okay? Never was quiet. The Falcons went through a huge process of having to determine what it is about this kid. Is he really, and they determined that he was the encouraging type, that he was there for his teammates, that he just had a love of the game and a love of life that sometimes would grate on your nerves because he never was quiet, but he was never putting someone down. He wasn't trash-talking the other team. It was much more encouragement for him and his team. That's why they took him because he's not really, on surface, he wouldn't be a Falcons guy. Their character thing is a big deal to them. They've never had an ounce of problems out of Sean Weatherspoon because they did their homework. That's what people, that's what the GM said to me about Montori Hughes. He's got to do a little more homework on that. But he's an intriguing guy, big guy, made some plays in the middle of the field, big, strong cat, and the type of cat that we need to keep in Knoxville and not let go to Martin.
Yeah. Any draft round range for those guys, Charles, Thomas, Rivera, or Hughes?
Yeah, too early for me.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at that anyway. That's why I have Mike Mayock there. He actually knows what he's talking about. I'm Robin to his Batman.
Yeah.
Although Batman's my hero, so it's hard for me to say that. But in this case, I really am. If you want me to put something on it early, I will. I'll say Rivera, probably mid to late rounds, and I'd say probably more like 6, 7.
Yeah.
Thomas, probably more like. I'd say probably more like 2, 3. There's a premium on guys like him.
Yeah.
And then with Hughes, probably somewhere around 3, 4, just as a guess. Because here's the thing. Every GM has always told me as GM and player personnel guys, once you kind of get through the guys you really have to have and really want, then you're saying, okay, how many big guys are left? We need big people. Montori Hughes is a big person.
Charles, last thing. We don't have time to do Lightning 11, but I'm going to do a Lightning 1 on the way out, okay?
Okay.
You guys are talking about the quarterbacks and the guys that were there and were not there and how the value of a quarterback as you get to the draft will increase. And some of these guys that may not be first-round, have first-round grades will get drafted, and you could see maybe 3 go in the first round even if they don't grade. Does Tyler Bray have an opportunity to be drafted in the first round?
He does, but I think it's a very slim one.
Okay.
He's got so much work to do to convince people that he can be a leader of an offense that I hope that's what he's focusing on. Because everybody knows he can sling it.
Mm-hmm.
That part is without question. It's all the rest of it that he's going to, it's like the old I Love Lucy show. Lucy, you have some explaining to do.
Sounds like something Brendan would say.
He's got a lot of explaining to do about some stuff that went on during his career at Tennessee and whether he can be that kind of leader. I think I told you, I met him last year at the Manning Academy.
Yeah.
Could not have had a worse first impression. Could not. By the end of the week, had grown on me some. Kind of, okay, all right, kid, all right, I see it. He can't have that same type of impression when he walks into those meeting rooms at the Combine that I got right out of the gate. He just cannot. That will not work for him. Because remember, you're commanding men.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Does the coach control the game? Yes. But the coach doesn't control the huddle. And doesn't control whether guys want to play for him. And I'll let you go with this. I'm not saying this is where Tyler Bray is. But I saw this with my own eyes, a game I called a few years ago. Oakland Raiders, Washington Redskins. Bruce Gradkowski starts for the Raiders. They play hard. You know Gradkowski, gritty guy, the whole thing, right? Mm-hmm. Playing hard, doing things, blah, blah, blah. Game's kind of close. Gradkowski hurts his knee, has to leave the game. Jamarcus Russell comes into the game. First 4 snaps, and this is without exaggeration, first 4 snaps, 3 sacks. You think you really believe that's a coincidence?
No.
I think not. The team picks the quarterback and picks who they will play for. Do they lay down for anyone? No. But do they play harder for other guys than others? Yes, they do. That's the point about it. Tyler Bray has all the physical tools you're looking for. If he can jump out there and show that he's growing up, maturing, can be that guy, he'll have a chance. But I think the chances are very slim that he'll be one of the first 3 quarterbacks off the board, despite his overwhelming physical talent. Because this is a year where he could clean up.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me on this. Geno Smith, we were banging on him for not being at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
Do you really think that he lost any sleep having watched all week's workout? Nope. He didn't. This is a year that a quarterback can clean up. Be prepared for Matt Barkley to circle back around and be in that conversation as the first guy taken again. Be prepared for that.
Charles Davis going to talk Super Bowl, has been talking Super Bowl all this week for the NFL Network, and then, of course, great coverage. Mike Mayock, the guys on the NFL Network leading up to the NFL Draft. Charles, always super to visit with you, no pun intended, with the Super Bowl, but we always appreciate your time, Charles.
Hey, no problem, and for me, it's always Batman head of Superman anyway. So I'm cool.
Thanks, Charles. Take care.
All right, guys, be good. Nice chatting with you again. Happy 2013. Talk to you later.
Same to you, Charles. That is Charles Davis. Phenomenal. Always enjoy visiting with Charles.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Great stuff.